Hi, Dave here. We're just reposting our episode from 2 years ago on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, as it used to be called back in the day. So do enjoy that. We're off to see the new one tonight, and that episode will be up this weekend. And as always, why not leave us a nice review on your podcatcher of choice? Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you. Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today, now we very rarely do this, but we are not going to go for a walk today because it is so wet outside.
Torrential.
Like, it is like insane rain. So we're going to drive down. We're going to hop in the car in a minute, and we're going to drive back. But we are going to see Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's the full title.
Rolls off the tongue.
Only Part 1 to be released this summer, of which there are many, to advertise its Part 1-ness in its title.
I'm pleased they've done that.
It's putting its cards on the table.
Yeah.
This is not a complete
Yeah.
story. Here you go. We're looking at you across the Spider-Verse and Fast X.
We'll reserve judgment until after we've seen it as to whether or not that was a good idea. I have my doubts. But we've been waiting a long time for this movie. Any long-term listeners will know we love the Mission Impossible franchise. It's probably our favourite action franchise.
I think beat for beat. I think for me, this is the best spy movie franchise. Mm-hmm. You know, go suck at James Bond.
And it just
those movies are boring.
It's gotten better over the years, and that's coming from a really high base. Like, the first movie was really good. We actually rewatched the first movie when the most recent film came out. We rewatched the first film. I think it was around episode 150, 160.
No, it was one episode. I looked it up a minute ago. It's episode 117 of this podcast is when we went to see Mission Impossible Fallout 5 years ago.
Wow.
And right after that episode, we went back and watched the first ever Mission Impossible on the Eurotrain in honor of Eurostar.
Yeah.
In honor of that. So we were clung to the top of the Eurostar, just like Tom Cruise.
With our baby, actually.
Yeah.
It was quite cool. And we also, about 7 years ago, watched all of the Mission Impossibles that had been out to date, back to back. We love them.
That's not a podcast.
Yeah,
episode.
we just did it.
It was
before we kids. I can't wait for this film. We're totally excited. What are the things? There's like a list of things you expect from a Mission Impossible.
Right. Tom Cruise doing something crazy that he did in real life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 2, masks.
Yeah,
masks. You gotta have lots of masks. So basically, anytime I watch a Mission Impossible movie, I'm just looking at every character in a scene and thinking one of them is Tom Cruise.
Yeah, at all times.
Which one is it?
Or somebody else wearing a mask.
Yeah. Or they've also done this historically. Someone else is wearing a Tom Cruise mask.
Yeah, epic.
Yeah.
There has to be really good use of the score.
The score? Yeah, okay, yeah, the score is pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, the music's very iconic.
Well, it's from the era of just brilliant TV theme tunes.
Yeah.
And I like that they've carried it forward and owned it.
There has to be a mission that is like laid out for us. Here are the 10 things you're going to have to do in this sequence in order to make this heist work.
Yeah, and then the first 3 will go wrong and they'll have to improvise.
Yeah, but we'll know every step of the way. And then there also has to be Tom Cruise with a mildly concerning age gap with a younger woman, and he has a kind of weird mix of a fatherly / romantic relationship with them.
Yeah, that's right. And this has 2 potential women for him to have awkward fatherly / love interest relations with. Because we've got Hayley Atwell joining the franchise here.
I like her.
And Rebecca Ferguson is back as well.
And I've seen the trailer, but you haven't.
No.
Which is unusual.
Yeah.
And it's a cracking trailer.
Oh,
so
yeah?
I'm pumped, yeah.
Well, I try to avoid trailers for movies. I
would normally, but like the Mission Impossible one came on when I was at something, and it's just a pure action trailer. It's just the music.
Yeah.
And then Tom Cruise jumps off cliff. So like, it's fantastic.
Oh, the other thing you always have to have is the mission briefing. You know, you've got all these little hallmarks from the TV show, like your mission if you choose to accept it. This message will self-destruct.
Love that.
Like, what I love about that show, which I used to watch as a kid on repeats with my dad. Leonard Nimoy was in it. It had all the things, a lot of the things.
Did it have the face
that we just described? Yeah, they had the faces.
Fun.
But it was a lot less sophisticated. You'd have the camera. Someone would like put their finger under their chin, and then the camera would pan away and you'd move back, and then they'd be throwing a completely different thing off. It's a different actor. But it had all those things. It had your mission if you choose to accept it. It had this tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Can't wait.
You know, so they've carried all that stuff through. But what I admire about this movie franchise is that it has evolved so much over the many years while keeping those sort of hallmarks.
Yeah.
Now it's just in a competition with itself to
Yeah.
one up itself, and I love Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise
Yeah,
for that.
I do as well. Right, we are
Right,
off to
let's go
watch the
into the
movie with the incredibly long name, part 1, and we will see you after.
Bye.
Bye.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. And we cannot escape the past. Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
The world is changing. Truth is vanishing. War is coming.
It's been a long time, friend. You've no idea the power I represent. It knows your story and how it ends.
Hi, we're back. We're back in the car. We've just seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. If it's your first time listening to this podcast, we don't spoil the movie. We're going to give you our general thoughts and opinions on it as we drive home. Going to have to take a little bit of a longer drive home because we've got a lot of opinions. And then we will spoil it when I indicate for Spoiler Street, which will be clearly indicated by the sound of my indicator. Right. Kathy, as passenger, I'm going to focus on driving for a little bit. You tell me what you thought of that movie.
I loved about the first 2 acts of this film. It had everything I wanted from a Mission Impossible. It had the masks, it had all the stuff we were talking about. It was really fun. And then, unfortunately for me, I felt like it dragged a bit. It got very baggy in the middle of the 3rd act, and I think what was dragging me down in part was the fact that I knew that this movie is a part 1, so I felt like I think it's because it's the third or 4th part 1 of a franchise we've seen this summer already.
Yeah, so we had Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Fast X did it. We had Dune do it a couple of years ago as well.
And this I don't know, as it was kind of gearing, I feel like it actually, the film lacked impetus because they're clearly gearing up for there to be 2 parts to this. It didn't have, and I'll get into it more in Spoiler Street, it didn't have one of those really classic elements that I look for in a Mission Impossible, where there's like a really detailed description of a mission that's going to be done. It actually was missing that.
Well, can I say, with no plot spoilers here, but I think they set up what that mission is going to be for the next film.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be set up for the next film.
I know, it's frustrating.
I actually felt cheated.
Yeah.
I really mean this when I say that the Top Gun movie we saw early this year, in that respect. Was that last year?
Yeah, that was last summer.
Wow.
That was the biggest movie of last year.
I have no sense of time anymore. that had, in terms of setting up a mission that needs to be completed, that film had a better mission.
Yeah, well, the difference is that film did the mission.
Well, yeah.
This film doesn't do the mission. It is just, it's not Mission Impossible, it's just impossible setup to the mission.
And I mean specifically what I'm talking about here, though, was one of those scenes where they're like, we're going to do 20 things and here's how we're going to do them, and then it happens. That's the scene I was missing in this film. Other than that,
sorry, go on.
I think he does an incredible job, Christopher McQuarrie, with these movies, of like, you're in a scene, whatever the scene may be, and I loved all the set pieces. Okay, what are all the things that can go wrong with the characters here? And there might be like, there's this whole sequence on a train which is fantastic, where there's like 50 things go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, no one has a minute to catch their breath, and that happened throughout the whole film. Like, so in that sense, taking aside the one big mission, the whole film felt like a series of impossible events that the characters had to overcome. I really enjoyed. For all the weird stuff about Tom Cruise's private eye, he is such a movie star. He commands the screen.
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant in these films, and he is phenomenal in his commitment to doing stunts, and I love that he does the stunts himself. Like, nothing gives me more joy than watching Tom Cruise like doing a crazy stunt. I think Hayley Atwell's brilliant. I love Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's fantastic, and I like that the kind of his older crew are back in it as well. and I love the callbacks to the first Mission Impossible. So overall, I had a really good time with it. And for the first like 2/3, I was like, "Today, I love this film. I'm so happy." But I think it's just another example of the bizarre choice of making films 2 parts. Because the other thing that I think where they're going to come into trouble with themselves next time is because it's hard enough to get people to the cinema now these days. Like the next time, people who might have missed this one for whatever reason will be going, well, I can't go and see that one because I've not seen the first one. Like, I feel like you're creating a marketing or attendance issue for yourself.
Unless they re-release the movie in cinemas for a short run.
But people don't have time to go to the cinema twice,
Yeah,
though.
no,
Like,
yeah. And this
people
movie's long. It's too long.
Yeah, it's very long, and I think that's part of the problem. So compared to like how excited I was 5 years ago or a year ago coming out of the last Mission Impossible or the Top Gun, I don't have that same level of excitement, and I think it's because I just feel a little bit bogged down by all that. That being said, there are incredible set pieces in this film. I love Taylor Atwell as an addition, and like we'll speak on Spoiler Street about the stuff that I really loved, but there was some really, really cool stuff in here. But yeah, I think overall I don't understand I genuinely can't see a reason for why they made it 2 films.
No, and I totally agree with you. I don't think it's justified. And what's more confusing is that Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the 5th one, and Fallout, the 6th one, are essentially sequels to each other. They have the share of villain.
Yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson's in them, and they are separate, complete movies, right?
Yeah.
I don't see why they couldn't have just done that here. The movie feels a bit, the plot feels kind of stretched out.
Yeah.
We've got a MacGuffin, but it feels incomplete. The promise of what the big thing is, I don't know, is it a year or 2 years away? It's not satisfying. So yeah, I agree, not justified. I was really entertained. I thought this is really good. I had a lot of fun. It did tick a lot of boxes. I thought Hayley Atwell stole the show. I thought anytime her and Tom Cruise were on screen together, their chemistry is fantastic. She is brilliant. She's the standout. She plays vulnerability and competence together really well. And it makes it for a very interesting character, and she's fantastic. And I love your point's so valid about like the reason these movies are so fun is because it's all about the adaptability of these people in these moments, because it always goes wrong. It's always best laid plans never go to plan, and then you're watching them make it up as they go along and try and recover it, and that is exciting and interesting.
I love that. Yeah.
I think this movie is too long. I think the script is not very good. There are scenes upon scenes of really clunky exposition, characters upon characters in rooms talking about things, the thing, and this is the thing, and we need the thing to get the other thing. It is really unnecessarily over engineered and complicated. I'd like to speak specifically about in Spoiler Street about I think Rebecca Ferguson was shortchanged in this movie.
Yeah.
Both her character and her as an actor, and I think they really dropped the ball on that. But yeah, and I agree. It sags. It's got a saggy middle. So I'm like, it's not a slam dunk. Fallout was a lot better.
Yeah.
But there's some individual elements here which I'd love to talk about in Spoiler Street, which are genuinely fantastic. Like brilliant action scenes, a few real standout moments. So yeah, look, it delivers as an entertaining film, but I just feel it's a bit unnecessarily drawn out by the 2 parts, which makes it really suffer.
Yeah. And you're right, it also is too long. Like, I was getting uncomfortable sitting there. I was like, this is like, I don't know that I've ever been bored in a Mission Impossible film, but there was like about 10 to 15 minutes where I was truly bored, and that really surprised me, because at the beginning I was so excited and so pumped for it. And we're going to go to spoilers now for, what's it called?
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Right, spoilers now for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part
So
1.
stupid.
Dave, indicate on the spoiler sheet.
Okay, indicating, here we go, hear it? Did that come through? Okay, last warning, full spoilers for half of this movie, or half of the 2 movies, you know what I mean. Part 1.
And let's just say all other Mission Impossibles, specifically at Mission Impossible 1.
yeah, we might spoil any of those movies. So yeah, sorry if you haven't seen them. But yeah, Kettridge is back. I love Kettridge.
I was so
He's
happy.
Brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
I said to Dave, "Oh my god, he's still in these movies," and Dave's like, "No, he hasn't been in it since the first one." That I didn't remember.
You said you've got such a bad memory. So many times you said to me, "It's like, oh, he's back." Never been in the movies before.
I love
like the
Kettridge,
man
though.
from Boardwalk Empire, the U.S. military guy who was chasing him.
I just presumed he'd been in
His
previous
name.
movies because they kept making out like him and Ethan had a relationship.
Yeah, they made it out,
Yeah.
but they also make out that Gabriel has this long history. Like if you were just coming to this, you were like, oh my god, he's got this long-standing feud with Gabriel. That must be running for all the movies. No, it's like that's just all like we've never seen anything from before Ethan's past, before he joined IMF. So they're introducing all that stuff. We also don't have any insight yet as to who that woman was. There's always a woman that Ethan fails to protect, and this is where I think the movie falls over. I think firstly Rebecca Ferguson got fridged, 100% fridged.
Define fridging.
Fridging is when a female character dies to drive the male character's arc or conflict forward, right? So she dies to serve his emotional moment, right? And he's presented with this choice where there are two women in your life. Firstly, one of them who you just met.
I know. I was like, he just met Hayley
So it's
Atwell.
like, why does he give a shit?
Like I know he's a nice guy, and like they had like, but like she multiple times left him to die, so I didn't quite know.
I'm like, I don't buy it. Now they both do a lot of work in this movie to sell that they've got a bit of a bond and they're cracking on screen together. Like when they were handcuffed together in that chase scene,
Brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, come on. I'm like, I really don't buy this emotional dilemma you've just shoehorned into this movie. Also, you've introduced Hayley Atwell, who is great, but it's like at the expense of Rebecca Ferguson. Already I'm like, there's not room in this movie for these two characters. Rebecca Ferguson got nothing to do except die, so Ethan can have a sad moment.
No, in fairness, she got one cool thing, very cool thing. She got to pull out a sword and have a sword fight on a bridge.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool, I guess. But like, I mean, like, it didn't land for me, the emotion of this. Also, like, the Fallout made a big deal, the last movie, of like reintroducing his wife at the end, his actual wife who he left behind. So it's just like Ethan's only emotional drive here is like, just like wanting to protect women, which is super, like, I don't know.
No, in
old school and
fairness,
patriarchal.
I think his drive in this film is to protect the world from an evil AI.
Yeah, which
I'm also sick of AI, so as soon as they said AI was the villain, I was like, can we not? I actually found that boring.
I think this movie is lacking a villain.
Yeah.
Because Gabriel, good actor, good performance, and I guess they really tried to do a lot of work by making it seem like there's this emotional, like, connection to Ethan's past. But I don't know about any of that. I don't really care.
Yeah, and he wasn't bad. Gabriel's just like, I'm sorry, but I'm here to serve the algorithm. Like, at no point did he feel like a villain.
And the script wants you to feel that, because Ethan says something like, he is the most cold, calculated murderer. He wants to see people suffer. I saw none of that. I didn't see him reveling in people's suffering.
Yeah.
He's just very cold and logical. What's his motivation? Why does he want this machine to win? And maybe we get some of this in the next movie, but like, that's why this is an incomplete movie, because I'm like, I didn't really buy Gabriel's motivation. I thought the AI thing,
I work in marketing and communications, right? ChatGPT is my enemy. I don't need to see another AI enemy.
I mean, they would have written this. This movie was delayed a lot. They would have written this probably right after the other one, 2019, 2020. I don't think when this was written, AI was in the public consciousness the way it is in 2023. So I think it's just a coincidental timing of this thing.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's a bit lame, but...
Who I want to be the villain is, like, Kittredge or someone. I need a human villain that, like, I've seen before, that I have a connection with. So the villain piece, we're both in agreement, was crap.
But can I say my but?
Yeah.
I think, I'm not particularly exciting, and a weird, interesting left field for a Mission Impossible movie to basically say the villain is Skynet, which is a bit sci-fi, but also quite close to home, I guess. But I actually think the movie handled that whole stuff pretty well. I actually found the Entity, which is a lame name, seemed pretty scary and terrifying as an existential threat. But you need a face for a villain, and you need and it just really wasn't there in this movie.
Yeah, agree. Villain wasn't good. Now, in fairness, villain wasn't on our list of things we need for a good Mission Impossible. We had just kind of presumed there would be a villain. The masks, truly nothing on cinema gives me greater joy than watching people rip masks off in an official Mission Impossible movie.
And there's some good mask action in this one.
Very good mask action, so enjoyed all that. There was so many good set pieces in this. Now, the desert one, though, the opening kind of desert piece.
That's unnecessary.
We've
Wasn't
seen
really
it.
that good.
We've
Didn't
seen
add
him in the
anything.
desert when he's done the whole Dubai one and the sandstorm. So I was like, absolutely not. We've seen a sandstorm.
Cut that out.
Yeah, cut it out.
But also, don't put Rebecca Ferguson in this movie. Have her. She didn't need to be here. She didn't.
Now I'm sure she disagreed. She probably got paid quite a lot of money to be in it.
Oh sure, but like she doesn't serve any purpose in this movie except to create a loss for Ethan.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's unfortunate.
And then he went to like find her in the desert, and there was a very boring shootout scene. And then it's like, oh, she's dead. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, don't worry, she's not dead.
Which is also just a boring double take.
Now the scenes though these are the things I think were fantastic. The scene where Ethan's wearing the mask, pretending to be your man's like butler, and is listening to the whole thing about the Entity, and then like gives your man the mask to put on, gives Kitteridge the mask, and then at the end he shoots Kitteridge and has a Kitteridge mask.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like
that
is exactly what I want. I loved the whole sequence when he gets Benji and his other friend
Luther.
When he gets Benji and Luther, when they're all controlling the cameras
The
and
airport.
stuff. The whole airport
The
sequence.
airport scene was fantastic.
But the airport scene is like classic Mission Impossible. From end to end, I absolutely love that, including Benji trying to do the bomb and Luther doing the like facial recognition and making them think other people are Tom Cruise. Like that is
Also,
like
it was
perfection.
it was genuinely thrilling.
Yeah.
Like when the whole bomb thing, it's a bit lame, but like it was different. It was a little bit different with the riddles. The AI. I thought that was where they played the AI nicely, where you got the AI just playing with them.
The AI had a bit of personality,
And I like that. I like that it's. I like the idea of which is a little. What was that Alex Garland show recently with the AI that could predict the future? You know, the TV series. Dev, yeah. It was a little bit Dev. I felt like there was a little of that thrill. The idea that the algorithm can predict human behavior, and Ex Machina is a bit like that as well. I thought that was interesting, and I thought it was. I liked that as a concept, and I like that Gabriel had that sort of kind of like I can kind of see the future probability thing. But yeah, that airport scene was fantastic. The other thought the Rome chase was brilliant, and they went down the same steps that Fast X went down. Surely.
I was like, I've watched this movie this summer already.
We saw Ving Rhames go down, or Vin Diesel go down those steps. I swear, backwards in a car as well. Surely,
absolutely.
Right? Someone please tell us that was the same step.
And there's also a massive dam breaking thing in both. However, I think this film shows up because like one of the biggest problems with Fast X is like how silly it is, and the tactile car sequence of the two of them in the handcuffs in that tiny yellow car together, they played it so perfectly. It was a very humorous film. A lot of that was very funny.
Yeah, you're right, the tone was very I thought the last one, maybe the last two, were actually a little bit more serious, particularly the last one. This one felt like it brought some of the comedy that I think hasn't really been present as much since maybe Ghost Protocol, the fourth one. That like there was a lot of levity in this, and I actually thought it was excellently done and well handled. But the key, just to dig into the key difference here between Fast, you're right, the Fast movie and this. I thought the Fast movie Rome chase scene was also very good, but the difference is Vin Diesel can never be seen to not be in control of the situation at all times. This is way more fun when Ethan is like trying to figure things out. It's just like, and him and Hayley Atwell like can't drive properly and doesn't want to. Like in a Fast movie, you've got the hacker, like who also can't drive, like gets into a car and just can drive in a car chase. Like Hayley Atwell driving around that roundabout was so funny to me.
The whole cinema was laughing.
And so perfect, and then I just thought that the sort of stakes of that were so elevated by having them be handcuffed and just having them try to navigate this situation in this yellow car as well. I mean, I thought it was really funny and well handled.
Really funny. And then when he ended up in the tunnel, the train tunnel, and then she's like, bye.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, really, really brilliant stuff.
And the other brilliant scene in this movie is the stunt with the motorbike and the parachute is only interesting, and I think this is a failing of some of these things, because you know he did it.
Yeah.
Because it's not really that interesting to look at.
But it is interesting because you know we did it though.
That's what makes it interesting. But if you don't have that behind the scenes context, it's not the most impressive thing to see on a screen.
It is though, because it looks real. It's like when he was doing his own crazy plane stunts in the last Top Gun, like, and his cheeks are moving.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
It feels real.
That's true.
And whereas like when they're on love the callback to the first film, and I enjoy them. Always enjoy people fighting on the top of trains, but like that doesn't feel real.
Yeah, that wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But what was really good, and I think was the most exciting scene in this movie, was the final train falling off the cliff.
Incredible.
Brilliantly done. It felt like the video game Uncharted to me. But I thought the CG work in this and the fake screens were very well blended. Like, I thought they looked very believable. I love how it was all storyboarded and thought out.
Good.
Like, suddenly they're in a dining car. The challenge is now the floor is slippy and there's like food coming out for you, and now the gas, like the escalating state, there's gas and it's
like
going to explode.
Chips
now there's a piano. I'm like, it's just brilliant.
That was incredible. But my biggest issue with this film is everything from when the plane crashed onwards was phenomenal, right? Absolutely loved it. Sorry, everything from the train crash onwards was phenomenal. But where the film lacked, like, I know they're setting up the MacGuffin of, okay, in the next movie they're going in the submarine. I actually don't mind setting up the submarine for the next film. But what they didn't do was set up the big heist, which is the train sequence in this film. They actually didn't set it up properly. They just said, okay, Hayley Atwell,
you're going to wear a mask and I'm going to go on a train in a parachute.
And then it
wasn't complex enough.
No, and then it just cut to a visual of the blonde woman and her like manservant lying down. But they were never like, to Hayley Atwell, how are you gonna knock them out? How are you gonna get here? How are you gonna go there? What bank details?
No, sorry, can I interrupt for a second though? I think the movie addresses that because Benji has a line where she asks some of these questions and he goes, trust me, it doesn't work to go into the details.
But
Which
why
I kind of thought was funny.
But that's not what we want. Like, when I think back to the Mission Impossible, and it might have been 2 or 3 months ago, for example, where he had to go underwater, and like we knew every beat of that plan. Or like the one where I can't remember which one again. I don't know which ones they are, but like where there's the one where they have to walk through this machine and there's like a gate analysis.
That was the same one actually.
Like,
it's in Rogue Nation.
So when they and really thinking back to the Top Gun movie last summer, so like when things are going right or wrong, we always know where we're at with the plan.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just like a smash and grab. They kept being like, Ethan has to get on the train. Ethan has to get on the train. I actually didn't understand why Ethan had to get on the train.
Yeah, couldn't she have just got off?
Yeah.
But I guess she was. What I liked about the movie is she's green. She doesn't really want, and she's reluctant, and she doesn't really have the expertise. She's a brilliant thief, but she can't really jump off a plane in a parachute, right? I think that's what they're getting at there. She doesn't have the experience.
But why did it all have to take place on the train though? Like none of it was set up.
That's where the meet was happening.
Yeah, but none of it was set up enough for me because like right at the very beginning, it seemed really foolish. Like Ethan had half of this really important key, right? And he's like, oh, you're meeting a buyer who most likely has the other half, so therefore we're going to give that buyer the real half of the key and then follow them. I was like, that's really flawed, because if by merging these two keys someone can control the entity, shouldn't Ethan's mission have just been to destroy the key? And that's where the film actually lost me at the very beginning.
No, because Ethan now Ethan doesn't know what the key does, so maybe my argument here is flawed. But Gabriel's mission is to destroy the key. Ethan's mission is to use the key to destroy the entity. That's what the
But
key
we
is.
only found that out at the end,
Yeah,
though.
I know.
At the very end, they were like, whoever has this key can destroy the
Yeah,
source
you're right.
code
So
of
why?
the entity.
But you're right. Why wouldn't Ethan, with the knowledge he has, destroy the key? He's trying to keep it out of the hands of people.
You
Yeah.
don't say, like,
I
I'll
know.
give the MacGuffin to the baddie and then follow the baddie and presume I can find out where they're
But
going with
Ethan's
it.
goal is to find out what the key opens. So
Is it
I think,
though?
yes, it is.
I
Because
thought his goal was to get both keys, like at the
no,
opening.
his goal is to find out. That's what he says at the beginning when they're in the airport. He says to Benji, we could just obtain both keys, but that wouldn't be useful because we wouldn't know what they are for. That's only the first part of it. We need to give the keys in so we trail the guy on the plane to find out what it opens.
But I think with the fact that we're having this conversation, it shows like a fundamental. When I say I truly never understood the mission of this film, other than that they had to get on a train and like find it. Like I wasn't ever like, I know what they're trying to do, I know what the mission is, I'm on board with understanding it. While I enjoyed all the set pieces, I didn't have that feeling of like, it's been signposted for me, I know what's happening, I know what they're trying to achieve. I just never had that feeling.
Well, I had that feeling. I understood what they were doing, what they had to achieve, but I think to your point, originally it wasn't particularly complex or interesting, which this movie series often does.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, it's just like, you're going to wear a mask and I'm going to get on the train and then we're going to leave the train.
Yeah, which is fine too.
Yeah.
But then don't be like at the end, and now we have a whole other movie, bye.
I know, right? And then it's like, and we were like, that's what we were alluding to at the beginning of this podcast episode, was that the opening of the Russian submarine, where you see the complex computer, you see the key in action, this sort of circular chamber. We were whispering to each other like, oh, like they're gonna break in there. That's obviously I can't wait to see them break in there. And then we started, like, our minds were spiraling. We were like, wait, this is the heist. One of them is Tom Cruise. He's wearing a mask. We had this whole thing which just didn't plan out. But yeah, this movie doesn't pay any of that off because it's going to happen in the next movie, and that's
what
not
I mean.
satisfying.
Like, if I'm like a casual moviegoer who likes a Tom Cruise movie, and whenever this next film comes out, and I don't know when it is, oh, I'm gonna go see that movie. Oh, it's a part 2. Oh, I never saw part 1. Never mind. I'll just go to something else.
But at least this movie advertised what it was saying going to be on the tin, and I think we heard a lot of groans, as we said, when the credits rolled on Across the Spider-Verse, and now everyone is saying the insider word is that movie is no way going to hit its deadline for April next year. And I don't know about this movie, it's probably in the can.
I think it's, though, fundamentally more acceptable for a comic book movie, because inherently how comic books have always been consumed is like in a serialized way.
Yeah.
And we come to expect at this point that with any, it's just the way comic book movies are made now. They're not like standalone movies anymore. They always have crossover fans, they always have plots crossing over. Like, inherently I'm okay with a comic book movie not having a proper ending.
Okay.
I am not okay with a Fast and the Furious movie or a Mission Impossible movie not having a proper ending.
Of the three, I think Across the Spider-Verse does feel like the first half of a big movie.
Yeah.
It does, because it had two, not to get into the details, but it had two huge Act 1s. Like, Act 2 of Across the Spider-Verse doesn't begin until an hour and a half in, basically. So it really does feel like half of a really long movie. Fast X and this movie felt like, with a few minor tweaks, they could just be their own movie.
Yeah.
Like, it does not, neither of them really need to be two parts.
And it annoys me because Fast X and Mission Impossible, they're such big tentpole franchises. They're kind of franchises that get people into cinemas, and like that's just like box offices are dying everywhere. Do it right, man. Get bums on seats for all your films. Don't mess around with the formula, right? Like, you're like our last bloody saviour at this point of cinema, which is tragic, of getting people bums in seats, like getting people buying concessions in cinemas, all the things you need to do to keep cinemas running. So
It's just a weird trend in Hollywood right
Yeah.
now. We got 3 movies that are part 1s, and 2 of them have the same set piece in Rome. It's like, how do they all just copy each other and
Yeah.
talk? Or I was like, what's happening?
really weird, that whole thing. Now, did
And
you
also, sorry, before we move on, the other movie that I think this one showed up, I think it showed up Fast X as an action movie. I think it showed up Indiana Jones big time.
Yeah.
Another big train sequence, and that train sequence really was just, that one in Indiana Jones was not a patch on what we got here.
No, I think Christopher McQuarrie, by my measure, is like the best living action director.
Yes, although I'll throw another movie into the mix, which we saw this year, is John Wick 4, which I don't think...
You say we, I did not see
Sorry,
it.
I saw this, which is interesting in that I think as a whole the Mission Impossible and the Mission Impossible series are far more well-rounded action movies, and they have more interesting plots and characters, and John Wick and the John Wick series is just absurd, ridiculous plots and settings, but the individual like hand-to-hand focused action scenes in John Wick do exceed those of the Mission Impossible.
Yeah, but like the train sequence, nothing exceeds that.
No, but that's a different opposite proposition. That's competing more with Indiana Jones and beating that than a John Wick movie.
Well, yeah, but remember the fight sequence between, was it Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise a couple of movies ago?
That one rivals the John Wick movie. I watched that on YouTube again yesterday, and it is better than the fight sequences in this movie. The one down the alley, I think, with Palm Clementif, I thought really ambitious to do it like an action scene in literally a one-person wide alley, but wasn't particularly interesting.
What about when it's like, the algorithm says you spared her life, and now my whole mission has failed.
So stupid. Who cares?
And then, right, so she's dying, right? She got an arrow in her chest,
like,
and then
my name is Paris. I have speak French.
But she's dying.
Voila.
She's dying. She's got a puncture wound in her chest from like whatever, and yet she's
able to lift a grown man.
Arm strength. She's a small woman as well. Like she's the arm strength to not only lift Tom Cruise, but also he's holding on to Haley Atwell.
Yeah. What's the problem?
Now, I want to make a reference point here. Tom Cruise is 61.
Yeah, incredible. Although
that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Tom Cruise is 61. Haley Atwell.
Oh, good question. I would
41.
Say I was going to say 40 something.
And Rebecca Ferguson, I could go 39.
Haley Atwell looks incredible in this movie.
Oh,
She's so gorgeous.
Yeah, she looks incredible, but that's not, again, the point I'm making.
Okay, sorry. I don't know if we were just saying how beautiful she is.
Why is he casting... Why are all the women so much younger than him? Who was his wife? Remember, she's around that age as well.
Yes, Michelle Monaghan. Michelle Monaghan.
He's also got a type, because Michelle Monaghan, Katie Holmes, and Haley Atwell.
You're mixing the real world with fictional world.
I'm saying those three women could be triplets.
Okay, yeah, okay, fair. Yeah.
And there was rumoured, and I'm presuming false planted rumours that Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise were dating for this movie for like publicity stunt. That's all a bit weird, and that's when we're getting into the kind of weird Tom Cruise stuff. Get a woman your own age, Tom.
Yeah, now to be fair, the movie didn't present too much of a romantic thing with
no, because we've pointed out Tom Cruise is 100% asexual in movies.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Well, that was we spoke about this on our Top Gun review, but we were both like surprised that there was a sex scene in that movie because he is largely asexual.
Yeah.
Like
Anyway, I just wanted to point that out about the age gap. And yes, it is phenomenal what Tom Cruise is doing at his age. Stud-wise. I hope he never stops.
He won't. He said because Tom Cruise has been on the press circuit. He's been very vocal about all the Hollywood movies out at the moment. I love that he's going to Barbie and Oppenheimer. He's saying he had a great time in Indiana Jones. He said that he hopes he intends to still be doing it when he's 81, like Harrison Ford. Like he was praising Harrison Ford.
But you know what I love though? I actually love Tom Cruise's dedication to cinema.
It's admirable.
It's like the definition of star power. Like you do need celebrities like that to come out. You need your Margot Robbies coming out for Barbie. Like you actually have to have big stars that like drive films and who are interested in it. Like Margot Robbie's similar to Tom Cruise. Like she's heavily involved in Barbie as a producer. She's been involved in the development of it. You need the actors of the buy-in and the desire to go out and promote them, and that's what makes people see them.
And I'll throw in another person, Christopher Nolan. Also, he's in this mix. The three of them this summer. They do feel like they could, because it's been a really dismal box office summer. Besides a few exceptions, like the like huge tanking, The Flash, Indiana Jones didn't do well. These three movies are basically the Hollywood's saviors. Yeah. And to be fair, you're right. Tom Cruise, Christopher McQuarrie, and Christopher Nolan,
Margot Robbie,
consistently. I wouldn't really put Margot Robbie in that. I would say the three of them for years have been vocally trying to save cinema and get people into cinema, to the point where Christopher Nolan walked away from Warner Brothers because of their HBO Max offering.
Which I love. And actually, the first film we ever saw after the pandemic in the cinema was Tenet, because he insisted on releasing it. But Margot Robbie this summer is out there putting her money where her mouth is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely this summer it's Margot Robbie out there on the red carpet, on the pink carpet, like getting bums in seats with next to Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan. I think really these are like our saviors of cinema.
They really are.
the four horsemen of the cinematic reimagining or whatever.
Anyway, though, I am disappointed, and I was so excited probably for the last month to see this movie, and I now just know I'm not going to be that excited for the next one.
I know, yeah, it is. I think it's a little disappointing, this movie, unfortunately. But still, glad I saw it. Had a great time.
Yeah.
It's a great cinema
And
trip.
it's only disappointing within its own incredibly high standard of the last one.
Exactly.
Yeah, better than in almost any other movie like in the cinema this year, definitely in terms of action wise. And let us know what you thought about the movie. Hopefully you enjoyed the ending a bit more than we did, and enjoyed all the set pieces. And come over to the Cinemile on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd and chat, or head over to patreon.com/the Cinemile, where we're talking about loads of TV this month. What are we talking about, Dave?
Yeah, we're gonna we finished Silo also with Rebecca Ferguson, so we're gonna be by the time you hear this, actually there's gonna be an episode up about our full season 1 spoilers of Silo, and we're also gonna do a sort of all the roundup of all the stuff we've been watching, including And Just Like That, Poker Face, what else?
Glamorous.
Loads of stuff. Glamorous. Yeah.
The direct competitor to And Just Like That, and more. Okay, bye.
Bye.